A blunt thunderstorm delivered her to the doorsteps of her cookum. Her mother paying hundreds of dollars on a cab from Winnipeg Dauphin to... Nope. I'm getting them switched up. I can memorize it, and I can deliver it in one take. Just watch. Here we go. And in my poetry voice, no less. Okay, here we go. A blunt thunderstorm delivered her to the doorstep of her cookum. Her mother paying hundreds of dollars on a cab from Winnipeg to Dauphin to dump her off. But girl, did she get rowdy. Flying fists and sharper tongue. First time I felt valid as an Indigenous trans woman was the publication of my book. The first time it happened, when I opened that box, I was crying. This is a dream come true. It felt like the most delicious revenge, especially as a kid being told I would never be a writer. I actually got expelled from one of my schools for my journal. I was using it to escape the reality in which I lived in foster care. I was telling the truth as a kid, and that is why it was dangerous. That interrupted the narrative that these foster parents and social workers had put on me. As an adult now, who's nearly been aged out of care for nearly a decade, when I review my file, I say I'm a villain, I say I'm an anti-hero, but like my villain backstory is, I would say, one for the books. I applied for my foster care file when I turned 19. My case was originally open October 3rd, 1997. On January 25th, 1998, Julianne Simpson left her 3 children with Mark Eady. Mark is the stepfather of Aaron. That's what I used to go by. Vernon Ross Cook is believed to be the biological father of Aaron Simpson. He has no involvement in Aaron's life. Miss Simpson has not maintained contact with the children. She is reported to be living in Vancouver using drugs. Her whereabouts were unknown. Aaron is aware that Cynthia and Peter are foster parents. He does always ask about his birth mother whenever I see him. He gave me a note to give to his mom in which he calls her his old mother. And he says how much he misses her. Following is a report on the progress of Aaron Simpson, who is currently completing a 3rd month of expressive arts therapy. Aaron's discomfort is about how others view his sensitive nature. I see a great need in Aaron to find ways to release the emotions and fears he so carefully hides behind the guise of tears. Aaron is speaking of the big anger growing inside of him. Aaron is upset for the family, often feels sad about how angry he gets. Aaron will continue to explore new ways to express his feelings, create word pictures, and write poetry. That was nearly 20 years ago, and I'm still very similar. Some things never change. Given the hungry nature of white supremacy and this narrative that Indigenous stories are to be stories of trauma, I wanted to be able to have my story have teeth. I don't want to be the palatable Native. I don't want to be the palatable trans girl. I don't want to be the palatable foster kid. I don't want to be palatable in the way that I'm easy to swallow. If they're going to eat me alive, I want them to have to chew. Used to fight with her Haida uncle, swearing Cree. Heard them talk rude and ran them down the street. Until a train took a limb. Until a storm took her 4. Until more than enough was never good enough. Why am I recognizing these places? These seem so familiar. I've seen them somewhere. I know them from somewhere. I would see like glimpses of my mom's face down the street all the time, looking at photos. I noticed some of the backgrounds. That's me and my mom. I'm pretty sure it's Grandview Park. That apartment building right there is still there. It was all connected, that I'd come back to the neighborhood where I was raised in, where I had my Indigenous family. I was also talking to my other auntie. She was like, we used to come here all the time with your mom. Her funeral was at the funeral parlor in Hastings. There has to be some sort of strings moving some plot along. Why would I be here? Why didn't I go to Toronto or Montreal? Why did I come here and move to the exact neighborhood where I was taken from? The place where the backgrounds in these photos match up. There is some destiny at play, some sort of intergenerational prophecy coming to fruition. My mother, a child in the storm, a storm begetting storm, a weather pattern unmatched, a sideways water, a means of knowing, all lightning and swears. She, the reasoning for more, a terrible knowing, a prairie storm caught in the gray, swirling from Francis to Cordova. Florence Greenwood, paternal grandmother, has court-ordered reasonable access at the discretion of the director. Miss Greenwood is not Aaron's biological grandmother, but she has always acted as his grandmother. A letter was written to Florence Greenwood, March 27, 2003, advising her of the transfer of responsibility to Métis Family Services. The biological mother of the 3 children, Julianne Simpson, has a serious history of drug addiction. She was hit by a train in January 2002 and lost part of her left arm, leg, and the use of her left eye. They write so clinically in here. My existence was so singular. It was about survival. They just saw this child and applied carcerality to them. No one looked at where these feelings were coming from. The teeth I have are because I was backed into a corner. I don't think I ever wanted to be a monster or a beast. I was made to turn my hands into claws. There was this one family on Salt Spring Island who wanted to adopt us. Me and my little sister and my little brother, which is unheard of, wanted to keep us all together. And then it never happened. We got separated, we got moved away, we got really hurt in that home. And it just made me think there is an alternate universe out there where me and my siblings were raised together by some probably rich white family on this island. It's hard to see some of these things that are written and know that things could have gone so differently. I didn't get a lot of toys that I wanted as a kid, and this was the very first Bionicle I got gifted to me. It was so nice, but then you could shape it, you could change it, you could mix and match and form different versions of them. I didn't have to feel like I was being forced to be anyone or anything that I didn't want to be. Poetry means so much to me, it does, but it doesn't give me the kind of audience reactions that I sometimes hope for and want. I taught myself drag in Kamloops, mostly online, watching tutorials. I was one of those bedroom queens. It was very solitary and isolating. It's when I first came back to the realization, after suppressing it from my younger childhood years, I was not a boy. And so it gave me, in part, my gender back. I can't take off the J. Simpson face, but I can put on and take off the Persephone face. Persephone is able to touch on a part of Joy that Jay doesn't get to publicly touch on a lot. The old warehouse before she got shut down was very close to the downtown east side. I get to go back to a place where I feel very close to my mother.
Are you ready for the next performer? Persephone Estradale. Her mother walked the streets around us before her. Something Persephone holds gently. And I wanted to let y'all know that Persephone uses the tips she earns performing drag to pay for her hormones. And she needs hormone money this month, y'all. So please give a very warm and generous welcome to Persephone Estradale!
With the warehouse being so close to where I've built this newer relationship with my mother, to be able to perform in a body that was once very restricted. When it's right, you know? Auntie says Mark would say, "I'm not going out with you if you look like that." And Mother would say, "Stay home then," when she tells me I dress just like her. I'm beautiful, stubborn, and she tells me how much she thinks Jules would adore me and who I've become, the loudest girl in the room, and aunties laugh at 5 years old. Always changing my clothes just like her. Auntie keeps calling me Jules, keeps saying sorry, keeps saying I look just like Jules, keeps saying sorry, keeps laughing. Haha, Jules, sorry. I tell Auntie, I feel her in the storms, you know. The before weather, the during, and the after. When the wind jolts my stomach like on the first bump of a roller coaster. I see her in the falling leaves on Commercial Drive. On the number 20 bus, swearing outside of Dresso, bumming a smoke on Hastings. I see her everywhere, you know. My auntie says to me, in the mirror too, I hope.
Let the empty